welcome to your reading. Hope you all are doing good. Thank you for joining me. So today's reading is the person on your mind. How do they think you view them? Okay. And we do have 3 groups for you to choose from. We have group 1, the pink tourmaline crystal, group 2, the sodalite crystal, and group 3, the blue calcite crystal. Okay. So group 1, 2, and 3. And because this reading is about someone else's perspective on how you see them, I will be starting all of my sentences with they think you see them as, okay? Just so I don't get confused and you get confused, okay? But yeah, you can take a minute to choose your group, but I shall see you all in your readings. Hi, welcome to your reading. If you've chosen the first group, the pink tourmaline crystal, then this reading is for you, okay? So the person on your mind, how do they think you see them? How do they think you view them? And like I said in the intro, I will be starting all my sentences with they think you see them as, just so that I don't get confused and I don't confuse any of you guys as well, right? But we have the King of Wands and we also have the Page of Wands for how they think you see them. So they definitely think you view them as independent and as someone who has their shit together. They do think you view them as not interested in you, maybe not serious about you, and or commitment. They do think you see them as, not settling or not too serious about relationships. They also think you see them as, a goal-oriented person, career focused, motivated, and ambitious. They do also think you see them as self-focused and they think you see them as self-focused and not necessarily selfish. And they also think that you view them as passionate or someone who only ever really pursues their desires, maybe lust and their attraction for people. So they could actually think that you see them as someone who is quite surface level. But they do think you also view them as someone who is full of life and as someone who is successful and someone who is a provider as well, even if it isn't really in terms of romantic relationships. They think that you see them as, desirable and attractive. I have to say they aren't 100% sure on the attractive part, but they do think you see them as desirable. Like they feel like you may not particularly see them as physically attractive, but certain qualities that they have are extremely attractive, and that's how they think you see them, okay? So they also think that you view them as fearless, confident, optimistic. They also think that you see them as someone who has good humor, someone who has, good banter, and just overall a good person, who is in their own lane. Like that's how they feel like you view them. They also think that you see them as genuine, controlling of themselves and maybe of other people, but also as someone who maybe likes to be left alone at times. Mm. They do think you see them as this leader, a good leader as well. And for some of you, they may even think you see them as your leader. They think you view them as like a very strong character, someone who is very authoritative. They also think that you see them as having a temper as well. Maybe as someone who is a bit rough. But they think you see them as motivated and action oriented. They think that you see them as a good conversationalist as well, or just someone who is good with their words. They think you see them as likable, and someone who's good with people, and someone who is or can be adventurous, or someone who has been adventurous in their life. They do think you see them as this rebel, in some capacity, and as someone who is just almost like doing their own thing. And also as someone who fills other people with life, someone who uplifts other people, maybe uplifts you. But yeah, they think that you see them as this mature person. They think you see them as someone who loves kids, and maybe as someone who's very good with kids as well. They think you see them or view them, sorry, as someone who likes to plan, as someone who is a planner, or someone who has good plans, maybe good ideas for the most part. They also think that you see them as humble, you know? And for some of you, an ambivert. They also think that you see them as impulsive at times, and maybe childish actually in regards to love, but also quite self protective. Like they think you see them as this, generous person, someone who's kind and sweet, and someone who, really adores the people that they are closest to. Mm. Okay, so we have thoughtful. So yeah, they think that you view them as someone who's very thoughtful and kind. They may think you actually see them as someone who's very thoughtful when it comes to you. So some of you, this person thinks that you could see them as not interested in you, but it feels like they could actually be interested in you, okay? So we have introverted as well. So this person could think you see them as a bit closed off. The Knight of Cups came out to clarify and the Ten of Cups reversed. So, I mean, they could think you see them as a bit closed off when it comes to love, when it comes to romance, maybe even when it comes to maybe family, or just maybe allowing people in or allowing new people in. We also have obedient. 1 second. So they think you see them as someone who's quite obedient at work. Like they kind of like as someone who kind of just gets on with their work, gets on with what they have to do without maybe, fussing, stuff like that. We also have frugal. Yeah, so some of you here, this person could think that you view them as frugal. For some of you, they could think that you see them as not generous, maybe towards you, but it feels like they feel like you see them as generous when it comes to a specific person or a specific group of people in their life. But when it comes to people outside of that group, you see them as quite frugal. They could also think that you see them as someone who's non-materialistic as well. And we also have fearless. So yeah, they could also think that you see them as someone who is fearless or someone who can be fearless, you know? I mean, this could be in terms of adventures, maybe in terms of maybe sports, like maybe outdoorsy stuff or like physical stuff. But yeah, they think you definitely see them as someone who loves adventure. Okay, so I have deep rooted commitment issues. Yeah, so they definitely think you see them as having commitment issues, maybe deep rooted commitment issues. But yeah, they feel like you see them as someone who isn't maybe ready for love, maybe isn't ready for a serious relationship. Maybe as someone who's maybe focused on other things aside from love and aside from finding a commitment or making a significant commitment to someone. We also have your imperfections are perfection. So they think you see them as imperfect, like obviously as a human, having flaws. But at the same time, they think you also see them as quite perfect too, maybe like a good person or, they just have certain things going for them. But they feel like you see them as both imperfect and flawed as everyone else, but at the same time, maybe a decent person. And yeah. Okay, so we have secrets. Um, my brain has drawn a blank. What are we talking about? Oh, how do they think you see them? So yeah, this person could also think you see them as quite mysterious, someone who's quite secretive as well. And if this resonates with your situation, they also think that you see them as wanting to keep you a secret, okay? So we also have blah blah blah. So this person could think you see them as boring at times, or this could be like more recently, maybe they've been less out there, and yeah, they could definitely think you see them as a bit boring or a bit standoffish at the moment. All right, so we also have tell me what it's going to take to make you mine. Yeah, so this person, they kind of feel like you want them all to yourself. Yeah, that was clarified by the devil. They could feel like you're quite possessive over them. They could also feel like you have a desire to control them. We also have let's keep our connection a secret. That's funny, two cards with a message about a secret. For some of you, if this makes sense for your situation, they could think that you see them as your secret crush. But this person, they feel as though they haven't really reciprocated, though. And finally, we have, is it bad that I've never made love? So yeah, this person, they feel like you see them as someone who maybe hasn't made love before, or someone who hasn't made love in a long time, or someone who just hasn't been in a serious and, beautiful relationship for a while, if ever. And yeah. And if this is someone who hasn't really reciprocated your feelings, they think that you could see them as maybe as like a bad person for doing that. They also think you see them as a bit broken. They also think you feel quite sorry for them, where their love life is concerned. Yeah, overall, they kind of just see you as someone, or they think that you see them, should I say, as someone who is afraid of love or afraid of falling in love. But yeah, that is all I have for this group. I do hope it could make sense, be helpful. But I'm wishing you the best, all right? Please take care. Bye. Hi, welcome to your reading. If you've chosen the Sodalite crystal, then this reading is for you, okay? So the person on your mind, how do they think you see them? And we'll start off with your tarot cards. Okay, so we have the Two of Cups upright, and we have the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. All right, so for this group, it feels like they think you see them. Sorry. So they think you see them as someone you are compatible with. They think you see them as happy or someone that could make you happy. I want to take back that the message about they think you see them as happy. It feels more so they think you see them as someone who could make you happy. And if it's not now, and it may take a lot of hard work, and if it's not now, at some point down the line, they feel like that you see them as someone that will make you happy down the line. Yeah, but it doesn't feel like they think you see them as happy though. They also think you see them as attracted to you. They think you see them as someone who's quite serious when it comes to commitment, or they're quite serious when it comes to love, or who they, kind of share that energy with. They could actually feel like you see them as quite hard work when it comes to love. But they do think that you see them as this loving person, as someone who loves you as well. They also think you see them as marriage material or friend material, depending on who you're asking about. Um, so yeah, they think that you see them as maybe happy with you, maybe happy with how things are, going between you, or they kind of just feel like you see them as maybe a good friend, a good partner, but they do feel like you see them as lacking confidence and, going through a difficult time, and, a string of bad luck even. And they think you see them, going through this chaotic time. They also think that you see them as quite unsuccessful and on some levels not good enough for you. And they also feel like you see them as not having much control in their lives either. Overall, it just kind of feels like they think you see them as having potential, but going through a lot right now. But I'm not really getting much else out of these. Do you have... Yeah, they think you see them as kind and someone who's a good person and someone who's down to earth. Okay, so we also have impressionable. So they feel like you see them as someone who's quite, weak and someone who can be quite impressionable as well. Like they feel like you see them as someone who's not a leader and someone who doesn't really think for themselves. As someone who maybe relies too much on the judgment of other people. We also have anxious. Yeah, so they feel like you see them as someone who's quite anxious as well, or going through a time period that is making them feel incredibly anxious. We also have predictable. So yeah, they think you see them as someone who can be predictable. This doesn't really feel like they see you as someone who's predictable all the time though. For some of you, this is more so referring to your consistency in some area of your life, or maybe towards them or someone else. Sorry, in some area of their life or towards you. We also have gentle. So yeah, they feel like you see them as someone who's quite soft. Maybe emotional. Like someone who's quite gentle, If it also feels like you see them as someone who maybe gets hurt quite easily. And we also have political. So they also think you see them as someone who tries to be politically correct. Like they think you see them as someone who's very careful about what they say, and someone who maybe fears saying the wrong thing, someone who fears doing the wrong thing as well. Yeah, they feel like you see them as someone who is incredibly anxious, which they could be. They could have perfectionist tendencies, even, so that could add to their angst. Okay, so we also have you are the yin to my yang. We have the lovely Two of Cups here as well. So yeah, this person does feel like you see them as someone you could be or someone you are incredibly compatible with. They think you see them as someone you could potentially commit to. If you already are committed to this person, then they kind of just see you as someone who is already committed to them. Um, you know, even if you or they are going through some personal struggles. So we have you are incredibly sexy. So yeah, for some of you here, it feels like they feel like you see them as someone who is quite sexy. And someone who finds you very sexy and attractive as well. Do you have more than this one? Okay, so we have please don't say no. Please say yes. So they feel like you see them as someone who has been rejected either by you in the past or by someone else. We have, I tell my family and friends about you. So they feel like you see them as having, spoken to their family and friends about you. With this Ten of Cups coming out in reverse to clarify, it feels like for some of you, they maybe haven't, spoken about you much, sorry, to their family and friends, but some of you could have that impression, or they think that you have that impression. But yeah. They also think that you see them as having a lot of family and friends. We have shadow work. So this person actually thinks that you see them as very depressed or someone who, struggles with depression. We also have dance for me. So they also feel like you see them as someone who's a very good dancer. They also think you see them as someone who dances for you or someone who wants to dance for you or someone who has danced for you in the past. And finally, we have balls deep. So, I mean, depending on your relationship to this person, but it feels for a lot of you here, this person sees you, or sorry, they think you see them as, someone who maybe you've had sex with, someone that you have been intimate with. But yeah, they see you, or they think you see them, sorry, as someone that you can be deep with, or someone that they think, wait, hold on. They think you see them. So yeah, they think that you see them as someone who you're deep with. Does that make sense? So basically, they basically see you as someone who's deep, or someone who can be deep. Maybe with them. Sorry, with you, if that makes sense. Sorry, I got a bit confused there for a second. But yeah, that is all I have though for this group. I do hope it could resonate, make sense, and be helpful. But I'm wishing you the best. Okay, take care. Hey there, welcome to your reading. If you've chosen the third group, this here blue calcite, then this reading is for you, okay? So the person on your mind, how do they think you see them? And I'm going to start off every sentence with they think you see them, blah, 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 just so that I don't get confused and so that I don't end up confusing you guys as well, right? So sorry if it sounds a bit repetitive, okay? But yeah, the cards that came out for this group is Justice reversed and the Hermit in the upright. Okay. So the person that you're asking about, they think that you see them as having lied to you. This feels like about something specific and not in general. They think you see them as going through bad karma. For some of you, they think you see them as this unfortunate person or someone who's going through something unfortunate, and as someone who has, kind of run out of luck, in general. But it feels like when it comes to you, So yeah, they feel like you see them as someone who has run out of luck when it comes to you. They also think that you see them as going through legal troubles. They think that you see them as someone who hurt you and as someone who is or has been unfair to you. Like they think you see them as this unbalanced person and honestly a bit crazy and just not a very nice person. Like that's how they think you see them. And they think you see them as indecisive and distant. They also believe you see them as someone who can be quite stubborn or someone who is stubborn and isolated, maybe introverted. Not necessarily in general, but this could be just referring to this moment. But they think that you see them as quite reserved. And this, again, this feels like at the moment and maybe not in general. Like they do feel like you see them as an overthinker and they think you see them as detaching as well from you and from other people. They do feel like you see them as introspective though. In general, or right now, this feels more so like right now, like they're in a period of introspection and that's how they feel like you're viewing them. They think that you see them as honest, and as someone who can be maybe a perfectionist and also as someone who can be judgmental. And for some of you here, this is not for everyone, but they think you see them as very controlling. And this feels like it's towards you. Like they think you see them as controlling of you, not necessarily in general. But yeah, they think you see them as this person who is unemotional, someone who's very logical and, analytical. But at the same time, they feel like you see them as this wish fulfillment, whether this be right now or, in the future. I mean, in the past, sorry. Shit, maybe in the future. How? So yeah, they feel like you see them as someone who is usually quite optimistic, but maybe not at the moment. And they feel like you see them as someone who doesn't want to fight or someone who's kind of like trying to avoid a confrontation with you so they could be hiding their feelings, so that something doesn't end up in a fight or a confrontation. So yeah, they also feel like you see them as hiding their feelings for you. It feels like they are actually. Empress, Eight of Swords. Do you have more from this card? Do you have more from both of these? So how do they think you see them? Yeah, so they feel like you see them as quite cold and closed off at the moment. Okay, so we have nice. So this is coming out as not nice. They feel like you see them as not very nice to you. And this feels in general. And this doesn't really feel like it's directed towards you. It doesn't feel like it's in general. This could just be at the moment. So it feels like right now, at this present moment in time in life, they kind of think that you see them as in, not in the best energy, not nice, a bit cold, detached, reserved. We also have sensitive. Again, this is coming out as the opposite. Like this person, they think that you view them as insensitive. Not in general, but maybe when it comes to you, and maybe when it comes to, maybe love and, relationships in general. We also have fair. This is so funny. Let me see. So this person, it feels like they think you see them as both fair and unfair. Maybe unfair towards you, but maybe fair towards other people in their lives. Actually, no, they think you see them as fair towards you. So they think you see them as both fair and unfair towards you specifically. Like they could feel like you're a bit up and down, or a bit sometime-ish when it comes to them. Like, even though they think you see them as someone who has lied to you about something specific, they feel like overall you see them as this person who is honest, or someone who, is, honest for the most part. For some of you, this is coming out as good skin. They think you see them as having good skin. Um, like clear skin. I don't know why it's coming out, but yeah, they think you see them as having clear skin. We also have undemanding. So this person, they feel like you see them as undemanding, and this doesn't feel like in general, it just feels like maybe in regards to you. So they could feel like you see them as undemanding when it comes to you, but at the same time, they feel like they could be demanding of you, or it wouldn't be wrong of them to be more demanding of you. But yeah, they feel like you see them as maybe not really bothered. Or just not as demanding as they were prior. We also have extravagant. So yeah, they think you see them as extravagant as well. This could be towards, maybe yourself, towards someone else in your life as well. And if this resonates for some of you, they feel like you see them as someone who makes like big proclamations of love, or maybe something else that's not really related to love. But yeah, they feel like you see them as someone who does make grand, like proclamations in some way. So we also have boring. Okay, so they think you see them as boring, and this feels like it could be in general as opposed to right now. Do you have more from this card? We also have we need to talk. So they feel like you see them as someone that you need to have a conversation with, someone that you want to talk to, someone that you maybe need to talk to. And if there are barriers, blockages in terms of communication to this person, they feel like, you kind of want to break down these barriers, okay? And, talk to them, reach out to them, or have them reach out to you. But yeah, they feel like you definitely want a conversation to happen. We also have I cannot express to you how much I do not give a shite. um, how, okay, they think you see. So yeah, they feel like you see them as someone who doesn't really care at times, or someone who doesn't really give a shit, maybe about you. We also have trauma. So they think you see them as either experiencing a lot of trauma, whether this be right now or, throughout their past. And for some of you here, they do think that you see them as someone who has caused you some significant, trauma or damage, or, experience that was not positive. We also have them still thinking of the little things you did and said. All right, so this person thinks that you think that they're still thinking of, the little moments that happen between you both, the little conversations, the little, the actions that happen between you both. They think that you think they're still thinking about it. Like they're still holding on to these memories, these interactions, these conversations. It feels like they are actually, to be fair. We also have my mind is elsewhere. So yeah, they think that you view them as distracted, not fully focused on you, or maybe even other people. And for some of you here, for maybe for a lot of you here, they feel like you see them as selfish as well. And finally, we have do you feel the same, or is it just me? So the person you're asking about, they could also think or feel like you both don't necessarily agree on a lot of things. They could feel like you both aren't compatible. But yeah, that is all I have though for those of you who chose this group. I do hope it could resonate, make sense, and be helpful. But I'm wishing you all the best, okay? Please take care. Bye.